The year 2006. Deep inside a cold and dark cave in the Logroño Mountains of Spain, researchers shone their flashlights into crevices covered in the dust of time and found something that made them hold their breath. Beneath the layers of dirt and rocks lay the skeleton of a man. At that time, no one knew that this nameless man would bring a massive shock, overturning everything we thought we knew about the skin color of humanity. This man lived about 7,000 years ago, during the Mesolithic period. According to common logic, an ancient European living in Spain, the ancestor of modern Europeans, must have had fair skin, right? But when scientists successfully extracted DNA from this skeleton and reconstructed his face, the results left the scientific community stunned. This 7,000-year-old European man had striking blue eyes, but his skin was dark, a combination of traits that we almost never see today. Ancient Europe, it turns out, did not look at all like the Europe we always imagine. Genetic data shows that the light skin of modern Europeans had not yet become the standard everywhere at that time. So ultimately, since when did humans start having different skin colors? And why did that change happen? To understand this story, we have to go back in time, going much further than the cave in Spain. We have to go back to the moment when human skin was not yet human skin as it is now. Before we move on, if you enjoy questions that overturn everything that seems so obvious like this, please take a second to hit the like button and subscribe to the Why So channel. Your support helps us continue to bring you these amazing journeys of discovery. Now, let us return to the starting point. Africa, about 1.2 million years ago. Our distant ancestors at that time were struggling to survive on the sun-baked savanna grasslands. They were highly active, hunting, walking, and endurance, running for tens of kilometers every day under the scorching heat of the equator. To prevent the body from overheating, evolution came up with a breakthrough solution, shedding most of the body hair and increasing sweat glands. We became the most naked and sweatiest primate species on the planet. But this solution gave birth to another life and death problem. When losing the thick layer of hair, the bare skin of our ancestors was exposed directly to the brutal UV rays of the sun. And here is something that many people often misunderstand. Our distant ancestors absolutely did not have white skin that later turned black due to sun exposure. On the contrary, according to models widely supported by the scientific community, as the hair gradually disappeared, dark skin pigmentation became the foundational adaptive state, appearing very early on. Dark pigmentation is actually the original version of the entire Homo genus. But why did the body need dark pigment, also known as melanin, so much? The answer is not just to protect against sunburn or skin cancer. Skin cancer usually kills people when they have passed their reproductive age, so it is not the biggest evolutionary pressure. The real enemy of UV rays lies inside your blood, folate. Folate, or vitamin B9, is an extremely important nutrient for fetal development and the process of cell division. Strong UV rays have the ability to penetrate light-colored skin and directly destroy the amount of folate in the blood. Pregnant women lacking folate will give birth to children with deformities or who cannot survive. Dark skin, filled with melanin, acts as a perfect natural shield, blocking UV rays and protecting the precious folate source. Under the equatorial sun, dark skin is not a physical trait. It is the ticket for the species to continue to exist. So if dark skin is so perfect, why does the world today have every spectrum of skin color? The story took a turning point about 50,000 to 70,000 years ago. A segment of the wise humans, Homo sapiens, decided to leave Africa, beginning the greatest mass migration in history. They spread across the continents, heading north, advancing into Europe and Asia. The further they moved from the equator, one thing began to change noticeably: the sunlight. The sky became cloudier, winters were longer, and the UV rays gradually weakened. At this point, the melanin shield that once saved their lives in Africa turned into a death sentence. Because UV rays do not just destroy, they also perform another vital task, helping the skin synthesize vitamin D. Vitamin D helps the body absorb calcium, build a strong skeletal system, and maintain the immune system. When those with dark skin advanced deep into the far north, the dense layer of melanin blocked even the meager, weak UV rays that remained. The consequence was a severe lack of vitamin D. Bones became fragile, children suffered from rickets, and women died during childbirth due to deformed pelvises. To survive in these cold and sunless lands, the human body was forced to adapt once again, and evolution issued a new directive: reduce the amount of melanin. open the door for the light to enter. And this is the strangest part of the story. A lot of people mistakenly believe that as soon as they left Africa, humans stepped into a cold land and boom, their skin instantly lightened in just a moment. The reality is much more complex and slower. Remember the man in the La Branya cave? He lived in Spain 7,000 years ago, meaning tens of thousands of years after his ancestors set foot in Europe. Yet he still carried dark skin. Ancient DNA evidence reveals a spectacular truth. Europeans kept their dark skin for the majority of their history existing on this continent. The skin lightening process was not a switch that was flipped all at once. It was a slow assembly process of genetics. Scientists have discovered the gene segments that act as switches, adjusting skin color. Most notably, the gene segments named SLC24A5 and SLC45A2. The mutations causing these two gene segments to reduce dark pigment did not appear immediately. It was not until about 11,000 to 19,000 years ago that these skin-lightening gene variants began to multiply strongly in the regions of Europe and Western Asia. Later, thanks to new migrations, the mixing of hunter-gatherers and farmers bringing new agriculture from the Middle East, light skin truly spread and became the picture we see in Europe today. And nature did not just solve this problem once. On the other side of the hemisphere, in East Asia, human populations facing similar sunless conditions also evolved to have lighter skin. But their bodies used a completely different toolkit of genes, typically like the gene OCA2. The same problem, but evolution found two different paths to arrive at the same result. So what about the mother continent of Africa? Do not think that the people who stayed in Africa are all exactly the same. In fact, Africa is the place that possesses the most diverse spectrum of skin colors on the planet. There are populations possessing smooth, deep black skin, like the night sky, to fight the desert sun. But there are also hunter-gatherer tribes in South Africa, possessing much lighter colored skin. Furthermore, genetic science recently discovered an interesting twist. Some gene segments regulating light skin were actually formed outside of Africa. But later, through the reverse migrations of ancient human populations a few thousand years ago, these genes brought light skin back to the mother continent. Our skin color is not an arrow that only goes in one straight direction. It is an intersecting network of journeys, encounters, and the blending of bloodlines over tens of thousands of years. In short, if someone asks you, when did humans start having different skin colors? The short answer is, when human populations began to live long enough under skies with different UV ray intensities. But the truth is deeper than that. Skin color has never been a measure of superiority, nor is it an unchanging trait that divides races. Skin color is simply a beautifully crafted biological record. It is the evidence of the sunlight, of the endless journeys across the continents, of the food, of survival, and of time. Dark skin is the oldest survival legacy of humanity, and light skin is the result of a spectacular adaptation in new horizons. Think back to the man in the La Branya cave. His existence does not break the rules of evolution at all. He was just there, patiently waiting 7,000 years in the dark to remind us of one thing. The history of humanity has never been as simple as what is printed in textbooks. The thing that seems most firmly attached, fixed, and obvious on our bodies, our skin color, turns out to be the continuously changing trace of very long migrations. And if skin color could change so drastically in just a blink of an eye in evolutionary history, then one must ask, how many other things about humans are we mistakenly assuming to be unchanging? Think about that. If you find this journey to discover our own origins fascinating enough, do not forget to hit the subscribe to the Why So channel button and leave a like. Continue to accompany us to decode the deepest mysteries of life and the strange truths behind the existence of humanity.